everybody's doing good. There's a lot popping off. I'm just doing what I can. This won't be too long of a live. I've been recording a lot. I haven't been live. We're going to get some kind of weather, some kind of hurricane, flooding thing. I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to get a trailer, get washed out, wait on a dropping hook that's not going to be ready till freaking noon tomorrow. I had a couple of days in Las Vegas that was very relaxing. I got enough cigars for me, Poncho, Lefty, and everybody else. So, box full of cigars, lots of Mexican food for like 3 days. I took a 3-day break in Las Vegas, found the best pizza place that I could find. I'm looking for a place that's got better lasagna, but hey, good food, good company, there was good people there. I had people wanting me to sit with them and talk to them. I mean, it was great. One lady has some kind of show. She said she was a journalist. That was kind of different. Talking to her, I didn't even tell her about my channel. I didn't see it. I've met a lot of people I haven't told about my channel, and some I have, but so here's what's going on right now. Yesterday morning, the U.S. attacked a bunch of sites that were actually Iranian sites. Okay, and today they're going to attack more. It's looking at it, it's shaping up to be this is not just going to be a tit for tat anymore. I don't know if Iran is going to call and help for Russia or try to hit Israel in retaliation or what's going to happen, but my understanding is that the sites right now are in other countries and in Syria, but it's actual, I mean, all of it's Houthi, and some of it's, I gotta say, man, they said they hit the Iranian National Guard people. That's their army. That's escalation. So, I don't know how much longer we're gonna be able to do this like this right here. I don't know how long before they might have their proxy, what would you call them, other than sleeper cells, over here, get activated. You know, they let a lot of them in. And there was one that a lot of people were trying to figure out who he was at first, and he was snuck in. See, there's two different ways to get into the U.S. One is the way they flood the gates with, and then when they're doing that, they send them into a whole nother sector, and the cartel runs them up, and those are the high-value, dangerous terrorists. They know that they would get caught people, okay? So while they send 20,000 to 100,000 in at one time in a whole different section of Texas, they're sending in these terrorists. Okay, they already know that. One of them was even on video, and they caught him on video, and they said, "Who are you?" He said, "Soon you will see who I am. Soon you're going to find out who I am." And then they found out who he was, but he meant he was going to do something that was going to make himself infamous. That's what's going on. We don't know, other than their regular things that they try to do, which is hit our infrastructure. I think that, I mean, just in the same way that 9/11 got us into Iraq, which we all know why it was changed over to Iraq, and it could have been just as well. A lot of them were from Saudi, but whatever. It got us into Iraq. Okay, that's actually what happened. So I think there's an event, and that's why some went to New York and some went to California, and some, I think there's an event that's planned, a big event. We're going to call it the big event. Okay. They haven't used that term since Kennedy went through Dallas, but I'm going to call it a big event. And it's going to be at the same time in a whole bunch of different places. And they still have a lot of the people from Afghanistan who were questionable that they brought over. And there were people that were on Twitter, which is now X, arguing with me, and they were paid shills, okay, supposedly in the government and over and above, letting those people in. Oh, they're vetted, and then those people's profiles disappeared, and all the things where they argued with me disappeared when I said, yeah, well, you might even have vetted half of them, but then they could bring their cousin over, and then he sleeps on the couch a few months, and then he pops off and does something, and that's how that works, because they can bring people over once they're here. Any person in the United States can sponsor another person from another country, and that's how they're going to do that if they weren't a bad person themselves. So I'm watching. Everybody's watching. I gave you some homework to do. I don't know if you did your homework or watched my last video. You should watch my last video. I was talking about this in traffic. Talking about how we don't even know our chain of command at this point. Our chain of command is questionable. Somebody's running it, and that's fine. But just to show proof of that, like I said the other day, take the money that you have in your pocket, the money that you have that's the last, look at the date on it when it was printed, okay? It could be last year, it could be the year before, it could be all through, but get at least one of them that's this year's date or last year. Last year will work. Get the date, okay, of the dollar bills that you have in your pocket. Get them out, spread them out. This is not dollar bingo. This is chain of command. The way I was trained was every person has to know the chain of command, and in that chain of command is the Secretary of the Treasury, from the President backwards coming down, okay? Someone else would be in Congress, and then, because you get the Speaker of the House. This is your chain of command. Even if you're not in the military, if there's a war that pops off, you will be conscripted. Everybody, you don't need an AR-15. Everybody's already got weapons. For every man, woman, and child that's already been made, you just don't have it in your hands. It has not been issued to you yet. You don't know the serial number, but you will have to remember that too. So I'm telling you, in the event of a war, you'll be educated, and one thing you'll be educated on is your chain of command. So going back from the President, he appoints the Secretary of the Treasury, okay? And they sign their name. And as soon as they're the Secretary of the Treasury, just like every time a governor gets into office, that night, you can be driving at night, it don't matter. If they're in the office, they have a whole new road sign that they put up at the edge of the state that says the state name, and it says governor, and it'll say the new governor's name. I mean, they change them that fast. And it makes sense, okay? Well, same with the President. When he gets into office and he puts another Secretary of the Treasury in and names his cabinet, They changed the name on the dollar bill. Well, people at this point, we don't even know our chain of command. I know people in the military that don't know the chain of command. I spoke with one the other day. I spoke with a group of them. They were like, well, then you need to be teaching this to us. I said, well, I'm not the one, but if they conscript me, I'll be a squad leader. I will come in and we will speak. Right now, though, you need to do it on your own. You need to look it up. Secretary of the Treasury is supposed to be a lady named Janet, right? Google that. Google who is the Secretary of the Treasury, and you will find that that is her name. Okay? But she has not had her name on the dollar bill. Several other people have. Since Trump, you can look at where he changed someone else. Okay? And then you can look. So, what's the reason for that? Anybody? Anybody on that with the reason? Because no one else knows. The only thing that makes sense is if you start with the President of the United States being the head of it all, being the commander-in-chief, okay? And come backwards. He appointed Janet. I don't have to say the last name. You'll look it up. You'll Google it. As Secretary of State. Secretary of Treasury. Okay, and the Secretary of State's in there too. But I'm saying Secretary of the Treasury. So if it's not truly that the Secretary of the Treasury is Janet, then you can surmise that it's possible also that even though they're telling you that the Commander-in-Chief is Biden, that may not be recorded the same way also. So I don't know if they have already overturned from way back or because it was in contention that they didn't use any names of the president and his cabinet. And it's really odd too. At the same time that Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House, she ripped up the document that was supposed to be kept as a historical document. They charged her for that. I think she had to pay something like, I don't know how many thousands of dollars she had to pay for that, but she was fined for doing that. But she was mad because Trump basically didn't even want to shake her hand, and she ripped that up. She does not like Trump. So her doing that, right after that, she went in and ordered that all of the photographs with their names on them that were hanging up inside the halls of Congress to be taken down off the walls. Okay? All of them. All the previous Speakers of the House had pictures on the walls. She had them all taken down. So I don't know if they did away with those and destroyed them, or if they sent them back into storage, because in the same way that the Clintons stole all that stuff from the White House when they left, and they basically were going to sue them and maybe even put them in jail, they had to return all that. They took furniture, they took craziness. They had to, that was basically federal property. That was property of the White House, and it goes into storage. Just like when a president chooses his desk. Yes, there are the desks resolute. That's the one that the Queen of England has one, and we have one that was given to us as a gift. But the president chooses his desk that he's going to sit behind, and they bring it in, and it comes out of storage. All of the desks of the presidents, some have used others' desks, okay? Some have wanted their own. So if you want to sit behind the desk that George Washington had or that Abraham Lincoln had, they're a little bit older and it's not worth it, right? But if you wanted to sit behind the desk Resolute, or if you wanted to sit behind Kennedy's desk, okay, for instance, then you would request that. So they do get to interior decorate, right? Like, that was the problem with Abraham Lincoln's wife, is she spent what would today be like millions on carpet and drapes and all kinds of craziness, and a lot of it was not even used. And then some of it had to be sent back because it was so expensive. It was almost like she was a hoarder or something, right? And then some of it was actually kept. So that's all property of the people and held by the U.S. government. So the question is, what did they do with the pictures of all of the previous speakers of the House, including Newt Gingrich? Because I think she had a problem walking by that picture. There was a lot. I believe he was the one that was the most recent one. But they, out of spite, they've been doing stuff like that. But the first thing they would want to do is change the name of the Secretary of the Treasury on the money to show that they were in control as like a power thing. But that never happened. There's also all those pictures of the fake Air Force One that they used. It's a part of the fuselage in steps going up. And they took pictures in it as if they were on Air Force One, but they weren't. There's people that have, you never see Biden at the Pentagon. They used to go to the Pentagon, oh, he's there. You don't see him there. I don't know, man. I heard a long time back that they said he need not even bother to go to the Pentagon. I don't know, I don't want to say, but there's a lot to this that we just don't know, and the proof is on the dollar bill that's in your pocket about who is not running things. Okay? So, if anybody can tell me, because nobody knows, I promise you, you won't know, but you can guess why someone else's name is on the dollar bills that are in your pocket than the supposed chain of command. Because I was taught, if you ever don't know the chain of command and you don't know who the Secretary of the Treasury is, all you got to do is get a dollar bill out of your pocket, and whatever year it is, if you get a new one, you open it up and look at it. It's on the right side under the seal. That is your chain of command. So we're possibly going into a war. We don't even know the chain of command. That's where I'm at on that. That's where a lot of people are at on that. People, I hope you're doing good. Like I said, this won't be a long live. I'm just rolling. It's one of those things where you don't know how long it's going to continue. I got storms up ahead. They're talking about flooding. Who knows? California's supposed to have been hit pretty good. Don't know if I need a truck or a boat, but I'm not concerned about it. I've done good. You gotta kind of set yourself up for success in uncertain times. So I'm gonna let you listen to some music, people, and you can chew on that. Like I said, find out the chain of command and let us know, because nobody else does. You know? I'll look at what time it is. In the Gulf. Zulu, GMT, call it what you want. I'm going to look at what time it is. And then there'll be some people posting some stuff up, let you know what time it is. We're going into World War, well, we've been in World War III. It's just been a bunch of proxy skirmishes until now. They're ready to let loose. I think it's because they've got intel that maybe Iran has already got a nuclear weapon. McCain pretty much said it, that is the line in the sand. Enemy over here. They always wanted a civil war. It won't be a civil war, it'll be a war of defense. Against a trained enemy. A bunch of terrorists. It'll make one Osama bin Laden look like a walk through Disneyland. So I'm hoping for the best. These are people who have trained. They're all military-age men. There's too many of them. And if they send all of our guys that are trained into a different theater of war. Like when we had the European theater in World War II, we also had the Asian theater over Japan and all the islands. What does that leave to take care of the problem that they let in? Especially when the federal government is raising up the razor wire forklift to let them in. I don't know the end game unless it's absolute population control. If anybody else knows, let me know. Y'all getting the picture? Days it's going to take. I wonder how long it's going to be before Iran retaliates if we did in fact hit the targets that we're talking about, which were Iranian National Guard, which is Iranian regular military. I do know that someone was videotaping and got a bunch of older 50s model cars with much simpler engines that would be before they put any type of a microchip, except I think the older Fords had a microchip in the dash for the speedometer. That was it. That was, I think, in the 70s they started doing that. I don't know what year. Maybe it was 78 or 79. After that, they started getting computers in cars. It would have to be a carbureted vehicle if they actually start dropping EMPs. But they don't even have to drop them, really. China can float them in those balloons they've got. Evidently, we wouldn't do anything about them. So, in the event that that happens, shut down everything. Trucks won't be able to bring you food because we have computers in these trucks. Volvo's got 6 or 7 computers, along with the sensors that might be damaged. Freightliners have a main one that controls it running, but you'll lose your APU. Peterbilt's, I'm not sure how many computers they have. Mack trucks, I think, still run 1 or 2. I think it's 1. I'll have to look at the back end. But with people doing LS swaps, that kind of negates the purpose because you have a computer in that too. So you're better off, you can take an LS engine, you can change it over to a carburetor if you wanted a vehicle that would work after an EMP. Basically anything carbureted with no chips. Even a carburetor will work, even if it's got electronic ignition and doesn't have points. But you would definitely have to get, it can fry the coils, it can fry the distributor, it depends. Depends on the area where you're at. Because each one of those, I'm not sure how many miles in diameter they work, it depends on how far they are above the earth when they bring them in. But the optimal height, miles-wise, is pretty much where they're running those Chinese balloons, or whatever you want to call them. I'll be getting off this thing in a minute. Just putting an update. I'll put this in operation on Biscuit. It won't be long, and you won't have to have an old man in a truck tell you what's going on. It will be evident. There's a lot that's going on over there, and they're going to make it go on over here. It's sad, really, because you can read the writing on the wall, you can see what's happening. But people, there's nothing we can do about it, because we're not in charge. It's going to be ugly. Aluminum's going to be in short supply. Copper's going to be in short supply. Steel will be in short supply. We get a lot of our steel from China, even though it's not the greatest. It won't be in complete short supply until they sell what they have, but what they have right now will go up in value so high, there'll be flatbedders taking I-beams probably straight to the port so that they can build more ships. There's that. And everybody talks about China not having any type of aircraft carrier, or they have a couple of small aircraft carriers, but they don't have any super carriers. Well, China looks at things differently. They built a mock-up target that's shaped just like one of our aircraft carriers, and they shoot missiles at it. They don't even consider our aircraft carriers as anything but a target, and they have missiles. So that's the issue with China. And they built all these subs. There's so many subs, it's ridiculous. They've got a mountain, they bored all these holes in it, underneath it, and we were watching it from satellite to see what they were doing. And they bored all these holes in it, and they saw that there were subs going in and out of it underwater. There's a whole mountain, submarine mountain. I call it Swiss cheese mountain. There's a lot of holes. So China has invested in submarines, and also in they now just showed a missile being shot from a commercial Chinese ship. It looks just like a commercial ship. You can't tell it any different, and there's a bunch of them off all of our ports. They just did a test to shoot a missile out of one. It did not move at all. That ship was solid. So I don't know how much water they took on in the hull to make it have ballast, but that missile didn't even move it. And so what we don't know now is how many of those that are off our port have those missiles in them. Because they had already tested them. That was just a show. People we're going to watch on the morning news tomorrow our second strike, and I think that's about going. I think that's going to be about all that Iran's going to take before they start popping off all kinds of stuff. I really think that this is the time that they're planning to do it. They were even talking about it way back 13 years ago. John McCain was talking about it. He said it was time to strike a win. We didn't have the entire Navy down there. We do now. I'm gonna get off this thing. I'm trying to have y'all on here on a live, and I don't have any more intel to give. If you want to make any comments, you can. I don't usually have to see too many of them, so I'm just doing my thing. Other than that, keep your head up. If you're trucking, y'all just keep going until we can. You know? That's the thing. Just keep trucking. Keep your eye on the sky. God bless you people. I'm going to get off this thing. Have a good night. Watch the news in the morning and go further. I'm out. Peace.